Hello, my name is Jules Woolf, and I'm an assistant professor at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. In this virtual poster, I'm going to present research that is currently underway that examines the formation of social norms and their influence on elite adolescent athletes' doping attitudes and behaviors. Social science research on adolescent athletes is important for several reasons. In addition to promoting clean and fair competition, it bears emphasis that some of the health risks associated with doping are exacerbated when consumed by younger people. Furthermore, adolescence is a pivotal stage of development where attitudes and values are forming. Research in this area can provide insights into how young athletes are influenced to dope, and given their stage of development, the results from this research may help design programs that can install a lifetime clean sport ethos in athletes. Previous research on adolescent athletes has identified many factors that predict doping attitudes and behavior. This includes perceived social norms and the influential role of the athlete's entourage. However, previous research on social norms often has been inconsistent in how this contract has been conceptualized and operationalized. In particular, the source of social norms has been generalized rather than specific. This is problematic given that we know that within the athlete's entourage, there are various people who may influence the athletes differently. In this research, we take the source of influence into account when examining the influence of social norms. Furthermore, as will be described shortly, we also examine how these social norms are formed. This research is being carried out in the Caribbean, as this has been identified as a region in need of research support. There has been very little social science research that examines doping among Caribbean athletes. This may be surprising given the strong sporting tradition that exists in the region and the success of many Caribbean countries on the international stage. The Caribbean has a large adolescent population, and sport participation is popular amongst this age group. While general substance use is on the rise among adolescents, specific research on doping is absent. And therefore, the purpose of this research is to examine the formation of social norms and how these influence adolescent elite athletes, which we define as national and international caliber athletes on their doping attitudes and behavior. First, we need to clarify what we mean by social norms. These are generally informal rules that are socially negotiated, context-dependent, and serve to guide behavior. While in some cases norms can be easily identified by the action of others, for example, standing for an innovation, in other cases it's harder to infer. This is especially true with private behaviors such as doping. In such cases, it is people's perceptions of what the collective is doing that matters. These descriptive norms may influence behavior even if the reality is that the occurrence of behavior is low. However, descriptive norms do not tell the whole story. People's belief in what others expect them to do may also influence behavior. These injunctive norms are hypothesized to influence behavior because of one's need to be affiliated with others. This explanation is important because the others, in this case, are likely to have more or less influence based on the relationship between the two parties. For example, previously I've shown that the proximity of relationship matters when it comes to the influence of injunctive norms on adolescent athletes, with close friends and teammates being more influential than aspirational others or role models. As mentioned, when social norms are not observable, it is the perception of these norms that matter. It is therefore a benefit to understand how these perceived norms are formed. Based on primary socialization theory, these norms are affected by the interactions adolescents have with peers and close others. This includes the type of conversations they have, and so knowing how adolescent athletes talk with others could provide insights into the development of social norms. And therefore, the purpose of our first study will be to understand how social norms regarding doping are formed among Caribbean adolescent athletes by examining the conversations they have with peers, coaches, and parents. In addition to examining how social norms are formed, we also plan to examine how these affect adolescent athletes' doping. To do so, we will use the theory of normative social behavior that states that the relationship between descriptive norms and behavior is moderated by injunctive norms, outcome expectations, and group identity. In brief, this theory states that if one believes referent others approve of behavior, the behavior is expected to provide benefits to oneself or the group, and if one closely identifies with the group, then this will magnify the effect of descriptive norms. Similar to study 1, we will examine the influence of different reference. In addition, because we are examining forms of communication, We plan to add 2 more variables to the model, communication frequency and communication content, as these would signal not just the occurrence, but the acceptability of behavior, which may further moderate the relationship between descriptive norms and behavior. For the first study, a qualitative semi-structured narrative interview method will be used. With a narrative interview, participants are encouraged to tell a story of an event. To build rapport and to familiarize the participant with the protocol, we begin by asking them to recall a time where they talked to their friends about training, and then ask them to describe the conversation they had as if they were watching it play out on a TV show or movie. The interviewer asked questions to encourage elaboration. This procedure is repeated with other reference groups of coaches and parents, and then we move on to discuss sports supplements and then doping. For study 2, we plan to administer a quantitative questionnaire at sporting events held in the region. This includes the Carifta Games and will involve athletes from a range of sports. The questionnaire is currently being designed and will be pilot tested for comprehension. In combination, these research studies will increase our understanding of social norms and how they're formed, and how different references affect the influence that social norms have on adolescent athletes' doping attitudes and behavior. Thank you for watching my presentation. Research such as this is not done alone, and therefore I wish to thank my collaborators, Sasha Sutherland from the Caribbean Rado, Byron, Patrick, and Shaw from the University of Illinois, and Rudy and Alana from the University of the West Indies. In addition, this research is being funded by the University of Illinois Campus Research Board and by the World Anti-Doping Agency's Social Science Research Grant Program. Finally, I would like to thank the Partnership for Clean Competition for organizing this conference and providing me with the opportunity to share my research. Thank you for your support.